Here at home, there's an ongoing, yet it's growing yet again, feud between the Will and Grace star Debra Messing and President Donald Trump. Now, Messing is calling for the names of those attending a Beverly Hills fundraiser for the president. And the president, of course, had to fire back, claiming Messing thanked him when The Apprentice helped NBC's evening lineup. So is this just another case of Hollywood versus the president? Or is there something more to this that could even potentially be dangerous? Well, we bring in our 360 view. We turn to our political panel. Civil rights attorney Robert Patillo and Ted Harvey from the Committee to Defend the President. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen.
Thanks, Scotty.
Good evening.
Okay, so Ted, I'm going to start with you. We can all agree that basically Hollywood leans left. However, do you think Debra Messing went too far this past weekend in calling for the names of those attending a Hollywood fundraiser for President Trump?
Well, I think it's bizarre that she did. She obviously doesn't know campaign finance law. Everybody that contributes to the president's campaign, their names are public. She just has to wait until the next reporting period, and she will have all of those names released, just like she has said the public has a right to know. Well, they do have a right to know, and they get to know that by law.
Well, you know what? Very simple fact right there. It's amazing. Great answer. I wish the president would have tweeted that out. That might have saved some controversy. But, Robert, that being said, targeting someone for race, sexual preference, religion has become largely condemned, I think, in today's society by most Americans. So why is political persuasion seem to be fair game?
Well, I don't think that it should be, and I think that many of these Hollywood liberal elitists are the ones who hurt Democrats across the country. These are the people who drive a radical agenda. They don't talk about bread and butter issues that regular American voters worry about. Let's understand that this party has lost 8,000 elections over the last decade, partially because of the far left tilt that the party has taken. What Debra Messing could do is talk about the plight of farm workers in the Midwest and the need for federal subsidies to help them. What Debra Messing could do is talk about poverty initiatives, issues involving housing, instead of trying to launch these far left attacks on individuals. And the president has to be more mature in these situations. You're the president of the United States of America. There's a Category 5 hurricane about to hit several of your states. Why are you texting with the star of Will and Grace? Why are you tweeting about things like that? Let's have adults in the room. Let's get back to real conversations. This is why so many people, so many young people check out of the political system altogether. This is why we have such low voter participation in this country, because our politics is a joke, and we have to take these things seriously.
Well, and that's the thing. We ought to take things seriously. And Ted, you know, some are saying Debra Messing's call reminded them kind of like Joseph McCarthy and his demands back about those attending that they were blacklisted so that they could be ruined, purged. Do you agree? Does this kind of remind you of that time and that era?
Well, I think it's bizarre because I didn't even, when I found out this is what the topic of the show was going to be, I had to look her up. I didn't even know who she was. So then I went and saw what she has tweeted in the past, and Robert was talking about, let's talk about these people that are low-income people that need jobs and stuff like that. That is what Trump has been talking about, and that's what Trump has been delivering on. We have the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans and Hispanics in the history of our country, yet you look at her previous tweets, and she's saying any African American that votes for Trump is mentally ill. I mean, that is where the Democrat far left in Hollywood are, that they are breaking down our society by race and calling people that vote for Trump that are black mentally ill. I mean, that is just crazy. I wish Trump wouldn't have tweeted anything about her because nobody remembers who she is. She was the star of a show from when you and I were kids, which was a long time ago, and nobody remembers who she is, and I had to look her up. So he's making her famous again.
Well, and that's the thing, Robert, you did point out about talking, you know, Debra Messing followed up her tweet by saying, now that I've got your attention, Mr. President, let's talk about gun control. Let's talk about what these mass shootings. Yet, she is a member of Hollywood. You've never seen her call out Hollywood for the violence that are in these movies that she might not star in because, as you point out, Will and Grace has really been her claim to fame and the only thing she's acted in. But her colleagues and friends star in these films. It's kind of a double standard sometimes, I feel like, coming out of Hollywood. That is, you know, we're going to cast one anchor, but we're not going to live by that same type of virtue. So, Robert, going forward, do you think Hollywood is going to be just this bold in their political, they're still going to continue to be politically active going into 2020? Or do you think maybe they might say, you know what, we're going to leave that to the voters and we're going to go back to making movies?
Well, one thing that we've seen is that the power of Hollywood to influence elections is severely overrated. Let's understand that a week before the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton was having rallies with LeBron James, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Hollywood actors everywhere, and she still got smoked in that election. So these people, they have big platforms, but people do not pay attention to them politically. They pay attention to their pocketbooks. They pay attention to the issues that affect them. So whereas these people that might have big Twitter followings, they don't actually have the juice. They don't have the power to sway elections. Since Ronald Reagan, that's about the last time Hollywood was really able to affect our electoral system.
Well, except for Donald Trump himself, who, as he points out, was the head of The Apprentice. So, I mean, you got to give him credit on that side as well. Ted, you know, on this case, though, when it comes to this sort of double standard, do you feel like that conservatives and Republicans get an unfair calling out by those in the Hollywood liberal left, that they get these points? You see Tom Arnold going after, you see Kathy Griffin, and yet they kind of never get called out for some of the violence that they sort of invoke or try to encourage on conservatives.
You bet. And you look at conservatives getting beaten up all across the country right now, and you don't see the media saying one word about it. And you see Castro down in Texas bringing to light the people who had contributed to President Trump down in Texas and saying we need to boycott them, we need to shame them, we need to do all this stuff. You don't see Republicans doing that to contributors of Joe Biden or anything like that. That is beneath Americans, and we shouldn't be doing that, saying that we should be protesting against those that contribute to another major party's candidate. That's just ridiculous. But that is where the left is. The left has nothing else to offer the American people. It is just divide our country based on race, divide our country based on political affiliation. That Americans are sick of that, and that's why the Democrat Party is losing election after election. And I would bet that Trump will win in a landslide if they continue to go down this route, which is what every one of their major Democrat candidates that are running for president right now is trying to do as well.
Yeah, at that same time, Robert, the Democratic Party is still known as the party, as the more sympathetic party, the person that takes care of the little people. They're still able to run with that narrative despite, you know, what you're hearing that Ted is saying. How are Democrats, why are they still able to keep that? Is it because they care more because the government is the one taking care of? Why are Democrats still be able to look like the bleeding hearts that's going to take care of you if you're in trouble, while Republicans will just push it aside?
Well, let's just look at the Republican tax cut from last year. You had a $1.5 trillion tax cut that 90% of the benefits went to the top 1% of the economy. Democrats care about fair housing. They care about educational equality. They care about paying for health care for families. So the fact that these are the issues that motivate the party, not Hollywood elites, is why Democrats are the party of the American people. And
Robert and Ted, if we just could stick to those issues, then we would actually be able to talk about them. But unfortunately, both Hollywood and Trump likes to tweet about both. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.